Dodge City, or the shootout at the OK Corral, Wyatt Earp found himself in a little river town 3 hours south of Chicago, known as Peoria, Illinois. This is the story of the Whiskey City Outlaw. Welcome back, everybody. It's the boys from Illinois, the Pub Time Podcast.
Looked like you had to warm that beer crack up a little bit there.
I was waiting for that music. If there's ever been some pub music, I think that was it.
That is good.
I'm all over that shit. I don't know who that is, but
it's very on brand.
I wish I could.
I would say
shout him out, but
well, obviously, it's someone who would love for us to use their music for free. We can only assume.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, we'll
Spotify's good with it, so I'm good with it.
We'll take it. So yeah, as you heard,
what it is.
Yeah, what it is. Little Wyatt Earp, man.
Yeah.
This is what we've had. Yeah, we've had in the bag for a while.
This is basically one of those bonus episodes.
The one thing though I saw, so we posted the episode today with this morning, last week by the time you all hear this, but the Satanic Temple episode, right? And I felt the same way though about our posting as I do about the Satanic Temple. That
what's that?
People may read the title, see the Hail Satan in the description, and they're like gonna move on. They'll be like, it's probably about devil worshippers.
No,
but like
they're gonna dip their
further
toes
from
in
the
there.
truth. It couldn't be further from the truth.
They're think it's really their toes in.
Yeah, well, the computer that I'm recording on it's my wife's laptop. She was doing her schoolwork the other day, and she goes, I don't know if she saw the Google Doc or what, but she's like, Hail Satan, blah, 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 or whatever. And I'm like, let me tell you about it, this and that. I'm like, honestly, beyond the name, it's
you
really
tell her
fascinating
you and the kids
stuff.
are going next weekend?
Yeah, sign us up.
To Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, well, we just talked about that, right? A couple weeks ago on the live about spouses just signing their families up for a church completely without any conversation or discussion whatsoever.
I was Jewish once for like 3 weeks. Didn't even know it. You believe that?
I do not. Was it the 3 weeks in which maybe it was when you were circumcised, right? Was that when you were Jewish?
Basically. I still enjoy a good bagel. So some of it must have rubbed off.
I do notice now. Is that camera still flashing?
I fucking told you. I got a ghost down here, brother.
Because as I'm watching it, it's like it'll like strobe you.
Listen,
here and there.
we welcomed in the Dark Lord last week, and the fucker just won't leave. I think that's what's happening.
It appears that he's tamed Hank. It looks like.
Yeah, he don't want to fight you today.
No, I guess not. That's all right though. Speaking of lizards, I saw this crazy video today on TikTok of what appeared to be, based off the description, was a rattlesnake that had been like skinned, head gone, and like gutted, where it was literally just the muscle
still moving,
and it's just squirming all over the table, man, like curling up, and I'm like, holy shit.
You ever had?
I don't think so. I'm sure
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I imagine it's like anything else, any other fried white
like
meat.
Gator.
Yeah.
Same thing. Frog legs, I guess that might be a closer, not as fishy, but
right. I try it though.
Yeah.
The older I get, I'm more of the I'll try anything once type of guy.
Anal.
if the right man comes along, I may consider it.
Good. I'm glad you
Um,
I'm glad you took that question head on
um, head in, it sounds like,
for the
but
right guy.
yeah, for the right guy. You can't put a price on true love, they say.
Why wouldn't you? If you meet Mr. Right and that's the only thing separating you is air and opportunity, what's it gonna hurt? You know what I
Seize
mean?
seize the moment. Um,
Just use all the lube in the world.
Again, so another story of a couple who must have used all the lube in the world. I saw on my news station of TikTok. A woman was basically telling the story of another woman whose husband went and got a paternity test to determine, I guess, if he was the father of their daughter. Like, I mean, I guess I don't know how old the daughter was, but it sounds like it had been a while. It wasn't like it was like baby born paternity test. It had been like years later. And why he did it, don't know. Don't have that context. But it came back that he wasn't the father. And she's freaking out. Like, I've never cheated on him. I have no idea what's going on. Like, he's pissed. He thinks I cheated on him. He's distancing himself from our daughter. And so they end up going to get like blood tests, both of them, and find out that neither one of them are the biological parents of their daughter. And it's been determined that the hospital
Flip flop the baby.
pulled a switcheroo and they're suing the hospital.
How old? How old is this
I don't
child?
know. I didn't s they didn't disclose the age. I didn't get that, but in the comments, though, there was a woman who said, "20 years ago, this happened to me and my husband, and, when they found out, they went to see what had become of their biological son, and he was in foster care because the parents that had taken him home, got in a car accident and died, and
Oh
so they
shit.
then, at that point, took custody of both of them, of their biological son and the son they had raised as their son,
Yeah.
up to that point in time. But can you imagine what would that be like if you got to that point? Let's just say they're 10 years old,
I'm
whatever. Let's just
testing
throw that.
listen, now that you say I'm testing all these motherfuckers tomorrow. 23andMe for each one of them.
I don't know, man. There's really no mistaking that they're yours, when you look around for sure. I mean,
What do you mean? What do you
they've
mean?
got
What do
the
you
heads
mean?
to prove it.
No, no, a mailman, big ass dome too.
Um, the what would you do? You're 10-year-old and you find this out. And so you go down the rabbit hole to, like, find out what happened to your biological child, and what if it turns out that they are with a good family and good parents who love them and they love them, and that they're I mean, that's gotta be the weirdest thing ever, like, not that you'd wanna see that they'd had a bad life, because that would probably be more heartbreaking,
My
but the
baby,
fact
it's my
that,
baby. I'm taking it back.
you
Very
know
unfortunate.
but what do you
It's
do to the
it's not
one that
gonna be
you've
the
raised as
storybook
your
ending.
own?
Very unfortunate, sir. You gotta
You
leave.
just rock the trade? Like, "See you
Like,
later?"
hey, yeah, no draft picks either. We're
Oh my
just heads up.
gosh. I can't imagine. That'd just be awful. I mean, sure, there are worse things that could happen to a person, but my goodness. And I just wonder how that happens. It seems like, at least in my experience, that there are so many uh fail safes in place to prevent that sort of thing. You
Yeah,
know?
color coding. I mean, there's all
Yeah, it's
sorts
like
of
they
things
got
you could do to these
bracelets,
babies.
ankle bands, like everything else, and I don't know, man. Um, One of my coworkers is expecting, his wife is expecting, I should say, and we were talking about the story. And he said that, he's like, "Well, when my baby's born, I'm gonna, like, draw on it at a permanent marker or something, like, put my initials on it." Uh, so I
Yeah,
know.
to be honest, I'm gonna have to check. I might have got swapped a couple times. I don't know. I said
You think
23andMe. They're
you
having a
think you
sale right now, so
you think that you might have gotten swapped personally?
these kids
Oh,
upstairs, squatters. I'm gonna check them out, make sure they're legit. I'll check
what
their
if,
paperwork, just like they would anywhere else.
what if someone pulled no switcheroo at the altar and you find out your wife is not who you thought you married?
Fuck.
I think we've
I could
all
have told you
already
that.
discovered that in our own lives. Can we
I
sue
think
the
I think
person?
I give the answer to that a couple weeks ago when you asked me what the perfect time is to get married.
And you said never?
Never.
No, you said, yeah, you and my dad agreed on that.
You want a vacuum to stop sucking? You marry it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's just a joke. I'm kidding. Sometimes.
Did you see the video I sent you earlier that
Yes.
giving up blowjobs or cheese?
I know you ain't giving up either, so it's okay. I
And
won't call you out.
what did the guy say? He's like, "Oh, blowjobs all day. They hurt my jaw."
You love what you love.
I do love cheese.
Are you gonna start growing those fucking curls out?
Probably not.
Please, just once.
No,
You wear a hat all goddamn day. It doesn't matter.
I do. Yeah, that's true.
Just let them curls flow out from under. Everybody will think you have a beautiful head of hair.
I haven't shaved my head in a while. It's just not growing very fast anymore. All my hair growth energy is going to my face now. Like the hair on
It's
my head
weird
is like
because you're fucking
come to a
Apache for
screeching
25
halt.
years of your life.
um, yeah, I don't know, man, but I'll take it. You know, better late than never, or so they
Read
say.
it.
Hey, look at us.
Yeah, fuck, I had to bring you in a little closer.
Look, I need to back up.
No, you're good.
Got the burps, man.
What are you gonna do about it? What are you drinking? Bush
I just got
lattes?
yeah. The old reliable. Some
I'm fucking
lattes.
with
What you
these
got there?
bears. You brought me some bears. Now it's like kind of poo pooed on them.
You
But
were, man. I'm
I
telling you.
I get into them now.
I
They taste
know.
just like my Voodoo Rangers. Big fan.
I tell you what, those IPAs though, man, they sneak up on me. I gotta be careful.
So I got a couple of these 9%. And that's been my choice. Like when I go to get a silo, maybe for the ride home, I go for that 9.9. Seems
Yeah.
to be a good way to start the day.
You doing the bear
Brown bag
hugs or whatever?
challenge, yeah. Brown bag challenge, yeah.
um,
Pub law, right? We've
Pub
already
law.
established pub law is
It is.
drinking and driving's perfectly legal. Being drunk
Well,
and driving,
drinking and
big
driving
discrepancy.
drinking and driving is not perfectly legal, for the record.
Pub law.
But, I've always said if you're gonna get busted for uh being drunk while driving, you might as well be drinking while driving. Um,
That's a shitty way to think about it, but I like my take on it a little better, but
I'm
who's
not
counting?
saying it's like a great philosophy,
No, it's not. I
but
said
I
pub law.
mean, you
There goes
should.
a flash again. Did you see that
It
thing?
is, man. It's flashing. I don't know what it is, man.
Spooky.
Strobe light.
Leviathan.
Probably something you did wrong on your end. Sure.
Being taken over right now.
So speaking of
Say my Hail Marys.
electricity and lights, let's go back to a time where this wasn't so prevalent, right? When was electricity invented? I don't even know. Do you?
Late 1800s.
So,
Like
and I'm
where it
sure it
was
was
useful for people. They had telegraphs and shit back then, but I'm not sure they really.
right. Um, and maybe major cities had certain spots that had
Yeah, fancy
electricity.
people, fuckers.
Um,
But
so
I'd
as
say
you
right
know,
around this time, 1880s, somewhere in there, maybe.
okay, all
If I had
right.
to
So we
guess.
might have a few light bulbs flickering, in the old whiskey city back in the mid to late 1800s. We'll call it the late 1800s. That's fine. Um, so as you heard in the opening, Wyatt Earp has some ties to Peoria, where we're from here in the pub, and most of you know him from the movie Tombstone and the OK Corral, Doc Holliday, Dodge City, all that sort of stuff. But before all of these things, Wyatt Earp set up shop here in Peoria for a while. He was actually born about hour 15 away in Monmouth,
Yeah,
Illinois.
boy.
So, which is actually where my wife is from. No relation, I don't think,
It could be
but
somewhere down the road.
way down the line. So we decided, in the spirit of the episode, as we so often do, to do our 5 for 5 on, outlaws or Western characters in general. Now, do these have to be
Wild West.
real life characters, or can they be fictional
You ain't
characters?
taking no Pecos Bill. Yes, they gotta be
I was just
real.
curious. I don't know that I have
Who
any fictional
who are
characters
you
that I would
gonna have?
take. I don't think I was gonna take any fictional characters at all.
You can't take Yosemite Sam. He's off the list.
No.
Yeah. No
What
Yosemite.
about Arkansas Dave Rudaball? Was he
He's
real?
real. He's real as
Was he? I didn't
fuck
know if
can
he
be.
was or not.
Wyatt Earp chased his ass down, son.
Really?
Later in life, yeah.
Wow. So I don't know that mine are gonna have much of an order to them as far as,
I'm
a
I'm going first.
hierarchy.
I'm going first because I'm taking my one first, and I don't want you to snake him.
That is drum
And that's the
roll.
gentleman, Doc Holliday.
Okay.
He's my guy. He's off the board. I hate Dennis except for this guy. Huge fan. Likes to
Um,
drink, likes to gamble, and hang out with hookers. I don't know what else to say about this guy. If ever there were a role model, I think he's it.
okay.
And plays
I'm
the
gonna
fucking piano like Beethoven.
I am gonna take as my number one then. I'm gonna take Billy the Kid, man. Uh, just at least the way
What's
he's
his real
depicted.
name? What's his real name? Supposed real name.
Um, William Bonney, right?
Yeah, very nice, very nice. William H. Bonney.
Yes, yes, William H. Bonney. I do remember that. So just at least the confidence that he exudes in the movies where they portray him, just kind of that I don't give a fuck, find a way out of a jam type of dude. And I think he was the type of person that, despite, obviously his outlaw lifestyle, seemed to really care about the people closest to him. Um, which, I always value people who value those closest to them. Their little circle of friends or whoever their people are. So it appears that he was that type of guy.
Uh, my number 4, Hillbilly Robin Hood, Jesse fucking James.
There you go. With ties to not too far from here, down in
Yeah.
Missouri.
Steal from the
Um,
rich and give to the poor. That's my guy right
he's a
there.
big train robber, right?
Oh yeah, he was all over their ass.
I mean, obviously, there's Wyatt Earp's on the list, but I figure we're talking about him, so I'm not gonna um, necessarily use him. Um, kind of a person. I'm gonna take Annie Oakley.
Annie Oakley. What
That's
about her?
right. I'm gonna take Annie Oakley. I mean, just the fact that in a world basically ruled by men in terms of popularity and things like that. I mean, obviously, she's renowned as a wonderful, whatever you call a female marksman, markswoman. Uh, Good with a
Mark's
gun,
person. It's Mark's
marks
person now,
person,
Brad.
a sharpshooter. Got in on or Buffalo Bills Wild West show,
Hell
um,
yeah,
showing
that's
off her
badass.
showing off her talents. So I will take Annie Oakley.
Number 3, I'm gonna go off the page a little bit. I'm going fucking Crazy Horse.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of those guys, the chiefs and shit of those different tribes, kind of get buried. The way the story was told to us, they were savages and this and that, but in war, that's what you should be as a fucking savage, is it not?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
unfortunately, that's how most, settlers met them, was in a battle.
well, let's face it, it's not much different than, I mean, obviously a different setting, but if some fucking people just all of a sudden came walking in your neighborhood or into your home and saying, "Leave, this is ours now," like you would probably meet them the same way that most of these Indians met them,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And
Native
you can't,
Americans,
yeah, you can't fault them
indigenous
for that.
people. What are you saying Indians for? What's
So,
this all
hey,
about? This is a family show.
I'm right there with you. I've got to go with uh one of my tribesmen, a prominent leader and medicine man of the Apache,
Oh, you
Ger-
motherfucker.
Geronimo.
Quit reading that list. What
I'm
list you
taking
reading?
Geronimo,
Son of a
man.
bitch.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let you take all the good ones. I'll take Geronimo. Obviously a lot of similarities there between um, Crazy Horse and Geronimo, and yeah, he's my next guy.
Um, I'm gonna take Creek Johnson,
Creek Johnson.
and although we don't get into it, but he's a part of Wyatt Earp's like vendetta ride. Like at the end, it's him, Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, Texas Jack Vermillion, and Virgil. I don't think ever makes it, so I think it's just those four guys, and they basically go on a fucking murder spree. You know what I mean, for 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm putting Creek down. That's a badass name.
It is pretty badass.
Oh my god, I love
Um,
it.
so hey, coming at you, Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier,
Davy fucking Crockett. Are you serious? Are you
frontiersman,
serious with me right now?
politician, soldier. He did it all, man. Uh, folk hero, Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. Who you got
Um,
next? Man, you're flashing. You're just flashing at me.
I know. Satan inside
All
this
right.
camera now. He's pissed. I'm gonna go English gentleman, Black Bart. He was stagecoach robber, also very much like Jesse James, big train guy, liked to knock off those Pinkerton trains, had all the money in him. Another guy that kind of gets lost in the mix of things with the White Earps and Wild Bill Hickox and shit like that. So
And I'm gonna wrap my list up with uh a woman who would have fit right into the Whiskey City back in the Wyatt Earp days, who would fit right in here with us at the pub, and that is Calamity Jane, sharpshooter, prospector, rowdy prostitute, gambler, and heavy drinker. Come on down. Don't tempt me with a good time,
come get you
Calamity
some.
Jane.
Yeah.
Why not, buddy?
What else do you think she would tempt you
She
with?
don't look real good though. I mean, the black
What
and
do you
white
mean?
probably
Let me
don't do
see.
her justice.
Show me one up. Let's see it. Oh my god.
Not great. Kinda dressed like a dude,
I'm
um,
okay with that.
a little
That
bit.
whiskey back then was a real deal.
So, yeah, Calamity Jane. I think that's a pretty solid list. Those 10 solid Wild West figures.
Yeah, no Butch Cassidy. How'd that happen?
I know, man. I noticed that. No Butch
No
Cassidy.
Sundance.
No, there was another one which I probably missed. Let's see. No Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
No Wild Bill.
Fuck Wild Bill. Curly
So,
Bill getting one at the end of this episode too,
Curly
so
Bill.
saving him for the end. Johnny Ringo.
Johnny Ringo.
Fuck them both.
So,
What do you think? What do you think? How cool would it have been?
2.
1880. I mean, you're fucking riding your horse into Tombstone, Arizona, or Dodge City, Kansas, or what
Well,
do you
back
think?
then, it'd be no different than you riding your Dodge into Dodge City, Kansas. I mean, those people didn't realize it wasn't as cool to them. Now, granted, the West was seemed as this sort of uncharted territory, um, probably almost the equivalent of like going to the fucking moon, right? And so maybe there's some significance or excitement wrapped up in all of that. But I think that for them, they were just living their life. You know, it didn't seem as unique as it does to us. You know, 150 years
I guess
later.
I'm just saying that time period. I think if there were a period in time I could go back to, like, this is my fucking period. Love this idea. Because you're not really in the fucking Stone Ages, you know what I mean?
No
To go
air
back in
conditioning.
the
It
time
sucked.
of, like, the kings and knights and shit, that sounds cool too. But now you've got a little innovation going on. You can at least catch a train if you need to. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Well, it
and not in
doesn't
complete darkness.
as a man who still writes checks, Um, I
What
imagine
do you need?
you
You
would have
need something?
loved
You need me to fill you a fucking loan or something?
you would have loved going back in time to where, primitive things were the norm and technology was basically non-existent.
I'd shoot your fucking ass right in the middle of the street, I'll tell you that right now. We'd
And you'd be
already be
able to do
having
that.
an
We'd be
issue.
able to go out and have a draw or a
10 paces, I'd mark
yeah.
them off, shoot you right in the ass.
Speaking of, what's The Quick and the Dead? That's a good movie.
That is.
You know what I'm talking about? That's a solid one. That's a solid
Yeah.
Western.
She's smoking
Um,
hot in that movie too.
oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Another
And
great
Leo,
child
right?
play.
He's young
Yeah, he's the
in that
kid.
movie. Yeah,
Gene Hackman's an asshole. He's such an asshole in Western movies, I don't know what it
yeah.
is. Quick and
Yeah,
the Dead and The
Leo's like
Unforgiven, he's fucking
Le
awful.
Leo's like fresh out of, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, right I think, like,
Yes,
in that one.
match in the gas tank.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
So we're gonna tell you a little story here. It might be a little, out of our norm, but I don't know if there's a better way to do it. So we're gonna do our best, tell you a little story about Wyatt Earp and his adventures here in Peoria, Illinois. So the 1860s through the 1890s gave birth to the period known as the Wild West, like we just talked about, and laid a foundation uh, to its ensuing mythology. And I mean, there's a whole genre of movies and TV shows about it. So it was an era of cowboys, Indians, pioneers, and outlaws brought together by the purposes of expansion, defense, greed, and reinvention. You know, I think that you had people fleeing more populated areas for, you know, that version of the American dream, the promise of gold and a new life, or the promise of riches, or the thought or the dream of riches. And I feel like most of them probably met a much harsher lifestyle and more resistance in the way of, like we talked about, the Native Americans, obviously other settlers that you know were trying to stake their own claim, and it was probably a little more grueling than people dreamt it up to be in their minds, I would imagine.
What do you mean? The expansion moving west?
Yeah, like, you know, loading up and moving west, you know, I think that
Yeah.
it was kind of a sexy idea, I thought, you know, it probably was glamorized a little bit, and
Your life expectancy
reality
probably wasn't great.
right, and reality was probably much harsher than, like I said, what the expectation or the vision was. Um,
And and it really wasn't west so much, it's that middle ground, because California was fairly established by then, but it was like from California to New York, man, it was a fucking coin toss if you're gonna make it or not.
well, in the mountains, I mean, crossing the Rockies was a fucking issue.
Oh, fuck.
Um, you know, and we've
Ask the
mentioned
Donner Party how that
yeah,
worked out.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about going over the Donner Party, Donner Pass situation at some point in time, but I mean, that's just one story. Imagine how many stories similar to that one are out there that we've never heard of.
I've heard another good one of, another cannibal situation, but I think the guy was, like, more into it than,
Out of
out of
instead of out of
necessity.
necessity, yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about a few guys like that. So anyways, so of the legends created in the Wild West, none of them are larger than that of Wyatt Earp. From Wichita to Dodge City to the OK Corral and Tombstone, the man becomes a myth. Although there are a few years of Wyatt's life that are usually left out of the storybooks. The years he spent in the whiskey city known as Peoria, Illinois.
And to be honest, huge fan, alright? Tombstone, easily my favorite movie of all time, very interested in the subject. I'm 37 years old now. Up until maybe 3 years ago, I didn't even fucking had a clue this guy was ever in Peoria, around Peoria.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of Peoria was a big deal back in the day. A lot of famous people, especially in that time period, spent time in Peoria. There's stories of you know, Charles Manson connects back to Peoria, and there's some stories that you know letters that he wrote about Peoria and things like that. So I mean, and that's more modern a little bit, of course, but um, you know, Peoria's got a pretty rich history when it comes to this sort of stuff. So let's take you in the time machine back to September 7th, 1872. And you're sitting in Peoria, Illinois. on probably a hot ass day, being in early September, and uh, for some days, complaints had reached Captain Gill about this boat that was tied up at Wesley Bend beyond the Peoria city limits, but by ordinance still within his jurisdiction. A young man from the lower end of Peoria had gone there night after night to carouse and then stagger home and abuse his mother. One of the denizens of the
Oh yeah.
boat had marched into the uproarious Bunker Hill section of town and boldly stoned a house, settling old scores. In Captain Gill's mind, the gunboat had overstayed its welcome. He put a patrol whistle to his lips and blew a sharp blast. His men charged through the four doors. The fiddler and the dancers scattered, but there was no escape. In one of the 8 bedrooms, a man cursed and threw his clothes and threw on his clothes, excuse me, or threw them. Who knows? Depends on how you like to
Maybe
get down.
both. Yeah.
While the woman with him broke out in knowing laughter and told him to give up. The police um, shouldered open another bedroom door and pounded on the dazed and startled inhabitants of the floating brothel.
They didn't
Among
pound on him. I mean, she
well,
she maybe was, we may have this in reverse a little bit.
how
This this
so?
a floating this a floating whorehouse.
Yeah, for sure. Which I mean, it doesn't sound like that initially. So we've got a floating whorehouse. This is very innovative, I
This
would
is not a
say,
bad
especially for the
idea.
time.
If
And
anything, we could go back. You know
go
what I
back,
mean?
yeah,
History repeats itself. This is a
it'll
great
come for a
idea.
for a full circle. Maybe it'll be like casinos, where for a long time the only legal casinos were on water. So
Yeah, stabbing
bring it
cabin.
back.
Come on down.
So among them were the owner, an experienced pimp from Beardstown, 90 miles downriver, and in another room, the owner's bartender and right hand man, a rough house slugger named Wyatt Earp and his wife Sarah. Um, I tell you what, I've met a few people from Beardstown, never met no pimps.
No?
Tell you that much. I
One
don't think so.
translator. Yeah, one translator.
Yeah. So events make clear that this was the Wyatt Berry Stapp Earp of OK Corral fame, and enduring Western legend, a man in his mid 20s who was already acquiring quite the reputation. The gunboat incident of September 7th, 1872, was not the first collision between him and the Peoria police that year. On February 24th, he and his brother Morgan had been seized in a raid on Jane Haspel's brothel in the city's red light district, close to the train yards, transient boarding houses, and hotels catering to commercial travelers. So, if you listen to our Richard Pryor episode, now obviously this took place about 100 years prior to Richard uh,
Prior.
growing up in town. But yeah, Peoria had a very prevalent red light district, brothels. Uh, we it was Sin City in a lot of ways, and um, I mean, if you ask me, weeding that part of Peoria out is probably was the beginning of the end of Peoria being what it was.
Really cool. Yeah. But it sounds like the way they describe it, being by the train yard and everything, that red light district would have been down by, like, Hiram Walker, where that whiskey that they're talking about was being produced in massive quantities.
See, and I always envisioned in my head, I guess, and based off of maybe the Richard Pryor story or something else I've read, that it was more up by like where, um, like Komatsu, the Taft Homes, that area. Maybe
See,
not.
yeah, because the train yard still today is down, it's basically down behind,
On
like,
the south,
ADM
yeah,
and all that, so
no,
the
absolutely.
stockyards,
Right.
right there on the river. Not that Komatsu wouldn't be, but
So at a hearing shortly afterward, a prostitute nabbed with the Earps cinched their guilt. She gave testimony to the effect that they had not been entrapped, but had knowingly consorted with her, and each man paid a fine of $20 and costs, which back then that's probably a chunk of change. Uh, the raid was part of a campaign launched by the new mayor and his superintendent of police, Samuel Gill, to placate the moral element among their constituents by putting well publicized pressure on the flesh trade. which
Flesh
obviously was
trade.
not
Can
obviously it
we
wasn't
please bring
successful.
that back?
The flesh trade,
Fuck.
obviously not successful though, because like I said, we talked about it being, still alive and well, during Richard Pryor's childhood.
This is probably another situation where the government, uh, they're putting their nose in a place that really, well, who are they hurting? You know what I mean?
White
Like, I get
people.
the fact if they're getting drunk, yes, white people, exactly. If they're getting drunk and rowdy, that's one thing. The pussy didn't make them do that. You know what I mean? I just happened to be where they were at the time. What does it, I don't, outlawing prostitution, I don't get it.
Well,
You
one
just
thing
push it
too.
underground, it goes somewhere else, you know what I
Well,
mean? It just, you don't
sure,
stop it.
and if you think about it, maybe it's one of those things that's very similar to, like, the legalization of marijuana, just the mindset of, like, are we doing more harm
The
by making it.
legalization with marijuana didn't come around till them fucking white people figured out how they could make more money off of selling it than they could incarcerating you for doing it.
That's
And
a fair point.
they've obviously found it now. 'Cause that's the biggest lie I think told to anybody ever in this world,
Sure,
is that marijuana was addictive or it was bad for you or any worse than anything else that you can over the counter purchase.
I gotta believe that
Huge horseshit.
there's more money and more security in regulating these things, right? Regulating them and taxing them and allowing them to exist, whether it's the sale of drugs like marijuana, um, or the flesh trade, as they like to call it. So, on this account, or on this occasion, rather, the amount of the fine suggests that the Earps were convicted of being nothing more than Johns. However, uh, the Roots Peoria City Directory for 1872 and 1873 lists Wyatt living at the same address as Jane Haspel, on Washington Street near the corner of Hamilton. So that's right, the downtown area,
Yeah.
um, of Peoria. And since the city directory went to press on March 1st, 1872, um, and canvassing for it would have taken at least several months, it is probable that Wyatt was residing in the Haspel brothel, and not merely patronizing it, at the time of his arrest. So, I mean,
So
hey, why not
so
just set up shop?
basically he's like a bouncer. You know, when they call him a pimp, the pimp of Peoria or whatever, he's basically just giving protection to these women that nobody's gonna get out of line. Because from any story you read, White Earp was a fucking badass. He didn't talk a whole bunch, he wasn't very social. You fucking got out of line, he put your ass back in. Like, he had no fear. It didn't matter how big your fucking ass was, he's in your face. So, to a place like this, he's valuable, you know what I mean? He probably made good money
Right. Probably
working there.
way, way tougher than Kurt Russell, I
I beat the
imagine.
fuck out of Kurt Russell.
So, 2 months afterwards, on April 24th, the prostitute who had turned state's evidence against the Earps, Minnie Randall, committed suicide by swallowing 6 grains of morphine. The Peoria Daily Transcript noted that she had been an inmate of the McClellan Building on Main Street, a house, of ill fame within several blocks of Jane Haspel's. It further remarked that the deceased had been stopping at McClellan's, with the notorious prostitute Sally Haspel.
To be honest, I think that building still exists.
Really?
Yeah, the McClellan building, which that's kinda
Um,
cool.
that is cool if that's true. So on September 9th, 1872, 2 days after the seizure of the gunboat, the prisoners lined up before the police magistrate James Cunningham in Peoria City Hall. Uh, those charged totaled 7 men and 6 women. So, they're making an example of them, trying to slow down the flesh trade. The officers who had taken part in the raid, boasted, so it sounds like cops were still assholes back then. Um, they were the quietest
Surprise,
set
surprise.
they were the quietest set of bawds and pimps, they had ever handled, and they felt so cheap at their unexpected capture. which is weird description. The Peoria Daily National Democrat on September 10th reported that some of the women are said to be good looking, but all appear to be terribly depraved.
God, I love it when they're like that. Good looking woman with low morals. I love you, girl.
Where would you go to find that right now?
Come on down upstairs. Depends. It depends if she's listening or not. If
So
she's listening, she'd be pissed. She's not gonna be depraved. Very unfortunate.
yeah, well, at least it's not live. So Uh, John Walton, the skipper of the boat, and Wyatt Earp, the Peoria bummer, were each fined $43.15. Sarah Earp, alias Sally Heckle, calls herself wife of Wyatt.
That's a fucking hit, man. $43? That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
that's a slab. I mean, that's some change.
it is. So it was no simple matter to become a pimp at a major house of prostitution in Peoria. So there must have been a lot of competition. Uh, some men in the profession had gained footholds during the years following the Civil War. Many of them veterans for whom carnage had become second nature, and they continually made news for their violent exploits in a tough town where slaughterhouses and distilleries were employers of first resort. So, yeah, I mean, a town where
And
basically it was just a rough fucking town, man, where people partied and they fucked and drank
and like
and
I said, I think, like, nowadays, you hear the word pimp, you get a different idea in your mind. What was the name of the house? Like, what was the name of the brothel? Jane Hospital, right?
yeah,
She's the madam, she's in charge, like, she's the real runner.
CEO.
Correct. Or CBO or HBO, head bitch in charge, you know what I mean? Like, they're just there giving protection, so I think a lot of times when people hear the word pimp, you're like, "Oh god, he's treating these women like shit, whatever." They
No,
weren't, like, they were
no.
their guardians, that's basically all they did.
If you've ever been to a strip club, you've seen the modern day Wyatt Earp. He's usually 6'5", dark skinned, and
Should
will
be playing
rip
for the
your
Chicago
face off.
Bears. Yeah.
I mean, we've all bumped into these guys, right? The bouncers at strip clubs. And I mean, or any bar, but at strip clubs, they tend to be a little more imposing.
Now, it
Uh,
does so after reading all this, I have kinda made a slight connection with Tombstone because there's a spot in that movie, like, right before the shootout that Ike Clanton comes into the bar and he's in Virgil's face, spitting on me, drunk, whatever. He's like, "You guys are all just a bunch of pimps." And it never made sense till now, you know, what
right,
they're talking about. Obviously, they knew, other people that really looked into this shit would have known. This is not like this was hidden history. It was just something that you never really researched.
right. So, I mean, I guess you wonder how that works. Like, you grant protection to the women of the brothel, and they pay you for it, right? I mean,
Yeah, you're a bouncer, you're a
right.
bodyguard. That's basically all you are. Because you gotta
Um,
imagine those guys get trashed at the saloon or wherever else, the fucking gambling boat, and they wanna come in and they're gonna act a fool.
right. No
So
doubt about that.
who you gonna have in charge to take care of that shit?
Wyatt
Wyatt
Earp,
Earp
apparently.
and his
And
brothers.
yep, and it says that that he had not if Wyatt Earp had not cultivated a previous acquaintance with the Haspels, he must have lived in Peoria for an extended period in 1871 to 1872, long enough to earn a reputation as a hard case. Um, this is abundant circumstantial evidence that Sarah Earp or Sally Haskell, and Sally Haspel are one and the same person. So Sally Haspel is allegedly a person affiliated, right, with the
Sarah Earp.
brothel,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
That'd
in
be
her
her daughter.
name. Yeah. So Wyatt's wife is Sarah Earp or Sally Heckle, Sally Haskell, Sally Haspel. Again, one and the same person. And such a conclusion adds a chapter of more than a little relevance to Wyatt Earp's biography. It casts light on a shadowy figure who seemingly came into his life shortly after he left Peoria. So By early 1874, Wyatt had turned up in the rip-roaring cattle town of Wichita, Kansas, and municipal records show that a prostitute using the name of Sally Earp operated a brothel with Wyatt Earp's sister-in-law, Bessie, in Wichita. So there's a lot of connections here, a lot of using fake names, uh, Sarah, Sally, Earp, Heckle, Haspel, so on.
She's
And
good. She's
yeah,
good. I love it.
absolutely. I wonder what the purpose of that would have been back then, because I mean, I wouldn't imagine. I'm
You didn't want your
fascinated that
wanted poster to say Sally Earp. It could be Sally Haskell. You
that's a
had to
good point, I
change. I mean,
suppose. So as late as September 1872, little more than a year before Sally Earp first appears on the police court docket of Wichita, she was claiming to be his wife, and the last word on where she and Wyatt were bound. On last word, she, good lord, on where she and Wyatt were bound was westward, as gunboat skipper John Walton said, uh, "Deep water on the Mississippi, where they don't find decent people sleeping in their beds at night." So I don't know. That was kind of I kind of butchered that there at the end, but westward they go.
still waters run deep. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
Moral of the story.
Moral of the story is, yeah, Wyatt Earp spent, I guess, what, a year or so in Peoria as a pimp, mixing it up with the law a little bit, and sounds like it's where maybe he met his bride.
His first ex-wife.
That's right.
He had 3 or 4 of them. So,
Who's the one in Tombstone?
she's gorgeous. That's Maddie. No, Maddie was the one that dies.
I can't remember.
The actress, I can't remember either.
What
But
do you?
they lived together until
No, well,
they
the
both
actress
passed
is the
away.
one, but he's there with.
That's yeah, her name's Maddie, the one he's there
Was it?
with in Tombstone, yeah.
Was she the pill popper?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't she took laudanum,
Whatever.
which
That's right.
opium,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
liquid
Yeah.
opium.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But the actress, chef's kiss. I mean, huge
Oh,
fan.
for sure. Absolutely. No, he definitely upgraded.
She's Faust. She's the devil in that play. So, I mean,
Which
she's probably who's in this fucking camera right now, making the bitch flash in my face.
is probably a lot easier to pull that sort of thing off back then.
Pull what?
The
Piece of
old,
ass like that, or
just
man for a
the old
woman, or woman for a
switcheroo.
man?
Just, hey, I'm just gonna leave your dumb ass here and take off with old girl,
Oh,
skip town. No internet,
I thought
harder to
you were
get
saying
from
try
point
to
A to
play for
point
the
B.
other team. I think the old cup check still works. I mean, just gender it right.
What are you talking about?
Because she's in the play and she's a man. She's the devil. Nobody knows it until she takes her mask off and whips her hair around.
Right.
And I'm just
I
saying a good
gotcha.
old cup check will let you know
I suppose so.
where's Sutton at when we need him,
I don't know.
so we can explain this to you.
He would have just talked about Doc Holliday for 45 minutes.
I'd be okay with that.
That's all it would have done. I'm your Huckleberry Bad Pal.
So, kind of off script, but Doc Holliday, they say he was probably one of the best, uh, gunfighters in the Old West. But he was always so fucking drunk. Like it'd take him a couple shots to get one in you. Like sober, fucking put you to sleep, one shot. But they say there was a couple poker games gone wrong, go outside, and he's got to lay 3 or 4 down before he gets one in you. Just smoked.
So how bad's the other guy if he can't get one in before you get off 3 or 4?
Don't know. It doesn't matter. Guy was never shot and died of tuberculosis. Died with his boots on, kind of.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think that it's Val Kilmer, right? I think he does a pretty damn good job, but
Oh, that might be the best Western character ever played, I think. I
yeah.
mean, fuck them Clint Eastwood movies. They ain't no good.
Yeah. No, I'm not crazy about Clint Eastwood. Honestly, I haven't watched a lot of his westerns, I'll admit that, but just never really been drawn to the guy. I don't know that I've seen a lot of John Wayne movies or TV shows either, to be honest.
But the actual story of Doc Holliday, where he comes from, how he gets where he's at, That's pretty fascinating.
Was he actually a dentist?
He was, like, board certified, like, coulda that's
No
what he
shit.
coulda done, but he was a much better gambler, it sounds like, and drinker.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you meet your calling, I think that, you just gotta run with it.
Yeah, kids, what we're saying is chase your dreams.
That's
You know,
right.
this is a family podcast,
Hey,
so
speaking of that, chasing your
what you got?
dreams. Do you feel like I feel like now, as an adult looking back, that being sold that whole "you can be whatever you wanna be" stuff is total bullshit. You can be
I mean,
you can be whatever you wanna be. You just follow your dreams. Now, you can be an awful lot of shit, right? But if you're
barring barring
like,
any huge disability, I think you can if given the right, backing. Why couldn't
y
you?
you were never going to play in the NBA,
Fuck you.
right? I
I
was
never
never
wanted to
going
play in the
to be an
NBA.
Olympic distance runner. Like, I mean, there's just so many things I think that, um, you can
But if
just
that's something you wanted, you'd work towards. I mean,
I could be a
Jason
distance runner, but
plenty of people probably told Jason Williams he couldn't play in the NBA either, and I know that motherfucker ain't much taller than I am.
I'm just saying I think that, yes, you can overcome a lot, with hard work, determination, um, and probably a little bit of luck, but the belief that you could literally be anything you wanna be, I think is a little bit of a stretch.
Hey, listen, we just talked about Wyatt Earp. You know what he turns out to be? Look where he started, from pimp to penthouse.
I guess so, and
Why can't you?
I suppose this day and age, you could really be whatever you want. You just have
What
to
what are you gonna tell your children?
identify as it. You just have to say, "Hey,
What are you gonna tell your
I am
children?
now this. I choose to be, what am I mean, I just more ask them, like, "What do you want?" Like, which granted, you know, our
No, they're
daughter's 6,
young.
so
They're
she's
young.
not old enough.
Right.
But, like, my whole thought is I ask her all the time just out of curiosity, like, "What do you like? What do you think you'd wanna be when you grow up?" You know, like, and I don't rain
But
on her parade if she says
what
anything
are
crazy.
you as a parent going to tell her? Are you gonna tell her what
Um,
she can or can't be? Because that's a dick move.
no, no, no,
You leave it
no,
open to them because
no,
it's
for
the
sure.
work they put in, whether you want them to be it or not. It's the work they put forward.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think what I would tell people is there's a couple things you need to consider. One is what makes you happy. 2 is what are you good at? And if what makes you happy is the same as what you're good at, you're in fucking business. Um, but if what makes you happy and there comes a
I
point in time in life where if what makes you happy isn't gonna provide you with this whatever sort of lifestyle you desire or require, you're gonna need to shift gears and do what you're good at or what you're capable of instead. I mean,
I
uh,
still I
right?
I I haven't really found out what I'm good at yet, or at least I don't get paid to do what I'm good at.
Well,
Um,
you do something that you're good enough at to make a living. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not
yeah,
saying you're a
I
fucking
love it. I love what I'm
yeah.
doing.
Well, there
I
you go.
love it. I'm not an
So
expert
you're about
by
the
any
sweet
means.
spot though. You love it. You know, you enjoy it makes you happy and you're good at it. Good enough that they pay you to show up and do it every day, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
and you're still invested enough that you wanna learn. I think that's kind of the issue. If ever you get to a point where you feel like you know everything about it, yeah,
right.
probably time to hang it up
Yeah,
or
I
go
think
somewhere
it's
else.
do something where you can be challenged, where you feel like there's room to grow and learn. And I mean, I think that if you just walk in somewhere and like you're gonna do, I can't imagine like it was back in the day with like probably our grandparents, where they walked in somewhere and they were, maybe they ran some sort of a machine at like a Caterpillar or somewhere like that, and they did the same fucking thing for 30 fucking years every day. You know what
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean? Like
three,
just
400 times a day.
and or even you could probably say it. I mean, your dad is a bricklayer, I'm sure he obviously built different structures and probably used different types of block from time to time,
The
but there
same
probably
fucking
was a lot of monotony to it,
oh god, every
um,
day.
I imagine. And I think that now if hey, that's the way you're wired and that's what trips your trigger and if the means to an end for you is just hey, they're gonna pay me a good amount of money to do this, and all I care about is, getting to the end of the week and getting that paycheck because it provides me the lifestyle I like to live, and that's fine.
But
Um,
to be honest, you want to talk about success, right? And it might not always be on the fucking dotted line. When you get those W-2s back and you see big numbers, is what it is. But if you hate your life, you're never around your family. Are you winning? Are you really winning? Not
no,
always.
no, no. I mean,
The
honestly, man.
idea is to find something you're passionate about, that you do enjoy. You don't fucking I see these grumpy old fucks, and I've talked about it before, but you see these grumpy old fucks come to work every day, hate their life, hate their wife, and it's like, "What are you doing here? Fucking go somewhere else, man. I don't wanna hear your shit." Life's depressing for everybody at some fucking point in time, but
Yeah,
if
oh,
that's how you
absolutely.
are every fucking day, god damn it, go do something about it.
Right. I mean, like, I guess happiness is different for everybody, but I mean, I'll be honest, like, me and my wife recently had this conversation, and I'm like, you know what? All that matters to me when it comes to life and like just like money, I want to make enough money that we can have the things we want to have, put a roof over our heads, give our kids the things they need, um, and travel and have experiences. And at the end of the day, as long as we can afford to do those things, like, the rest of it doesn't fucking matter to me, because those are the things that would make me happy, or we agree that make us happy is obviously being able to provide for our children and our family and traveling and having experiences and going different places. I don't have to have a fancy brand new truck. I don't need, some sort of crazy lawnmower or whatever. I mean, who knows what? Just throw all the random shit out there. Um, at the end of the day, it's like and I've
So,
never really thought about it in that simple of a way, like just that, hey, like all that really matters is that we're doing things that make us happy
as
at the
as
end.
as soon as my children leave my house, I think I'm gonna live my life as a homeless man.
Yeah, I
I
would.
I ain't even kidding. I'm fucking hitting the road, Jack. Gone.
You mean
Forget
like
about
those folks that like live in the Sprinter vans and shit like that, or what?
yeah, fuck yeah, you better believe it. Gone. I go find some little bullshit place to work for a little bit and hang the fuck out, go
I
here,
am
go
so
there.
yeah, I'm
I'm ready to
so
dry it out.
fascinated. I'm so fascinated by the people that do that, because I don't know how sometimes, like, "Oh, we just live." It's like a family, right? And they're like they got little kids and everything, and they're like, "Oh, we just live in our fucking van or motorhome or whatever." I'm like, "What do you do for fucking like, how do you make money to support your lifestyle?" I mean, I know, like, this day and age, there's a lot of jobs you can do remotely and things, but
Well
honestly, what I found is a lot of those people are just real fucking creative about
well,
ways to generate enough money to do what they gotta do.
I'm a beekeeper and my wife collects stamps. I mean, fuck, you've seen the things before.
Right,
Our budget's $1,000,000.
right,
I
but
I don't know, and to be honest, fuck, I've been poor before, it ain't that bad, it just tastes different than having money. I have no problem, I think just living on the road and seeing different shit, awesome.
I agree. I would
Excited,
agree
I would love to
wholeheartedly, man,
check it
like,
out.
because I think that, as cliche as it sounds, like, all these possessions, you can't take them with you when you go, right, they say, but, like, the memories you make and the experiences you have going new places, sharing those things with people you care about, like, that stuff's irreplaceable, you know what I'm
Now, hey,
saying? And
listen, you
and no
didn't
one can ever
necessarily
take that
agree
away
with
from
me.
you.
You didn't necessarily agree with me last week about what I said about your soul and what you leave here and what you don't leave here, but damn near said what I said word for word right there.
I mean,
It's
as far
what you do while you're here, that's the experience. That's your heaven or your hell.
yeah, maybe so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think though, as far as a soul that like I said last week, that you have, I do think there's an energy. There's something more than this body that has its own energy or life to it. And what
If
happens to it when this body dies, I don't know. I don't know.
if
None
you
of
had
us do.
one place in the United States that you could go live homeless right now, where would it be?
Oh man, I don't know. I tell you what, man, I've never
Just say
been.
San Francisco.
No, I've never been a big beach person, but the experiences we've had the last couple years, I'd go, like, somewhere near the beach, dude. The
What do
weather's
you think
nice,
they're
the
gonna do to a
food's good.
homeless person? What are they gonna do?
What do you mean?
They're probably gonna remove you. You're not gonna be able to set up shop on the beach. This is
Well,
for
maybe
paying
not, but I'm
customers.
saying, well, whatever. I mean, but
Where are you going?
a lot of these folks in these vans, they park at, like, campgrounds that are cheap, shit like that, you know? I
That's
mean,
not homeless.
like I
They got
said,
somewhere to sleep.
the weather's nice, the food's good, like, just the lifestyle is laid back. I
What are you
think
gonna
I would do
eat?
that, man.
Are you a decent fisherman?
I'd probably have to learn how to be.
I would hope so. You mean those fucking sand flea things? You're gonna need a lot of them.
Um, I mean, what were you saying you would go?
So I'm going Wyoming.
Yeah,
Plenty of food.
how you gonna survive the winter in, like, 15 feet of snow?
I'm gonna build a fucking shack. You kidding me? I got plenty of time. I have nothing but time.
That's one place that they definitely wouldn't kick you out of.
No, fuck, there ain't enough people. They wouldn't even know
Right.
I'm there. I just gotta find a way to obtain some alcohol, some beer.
You could make your own.
You ever seen The Legend of Mick Dodge? I think we talked about this guy before.
I have not.
You need to educate yourself.
On the Legend of Mick Dodge.
He lives in Washington State. I don't know if he's still alive or not. Guy didn't look great the last time I seen him, but legit wild man. Lives in trees, like in them, not on them, above them, in them. Like he'll hollow out a fucking tree, sleep in that thing, wears deer skins and
That's pretty wild. So you basically wanna be like those,
no, 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 no,
Alaskan bush people?
no. But in Wyoming, you'd probably have to a little bit. I mean,
It's
you know
gonna
what I mean? It's not wildly populated. I'm just saying there's gonna be a lot of food out there. There's not that many people. There's gonna be plenty of shit to eat.
probably.
There's less people per capita in Wyoming than any other state in the United States.
I believe that.
500,000 people, almost a million square miles.
Well, have you ever seen those maps of, like, population density of the country, and it's, like, literally from, like, the Mississippi River to, like, California, it's just barren, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
We already
50% of
talked.
the well, it's like something like I don't know if it's like 50% or 70% of the population lives, like, east of the Mississippi River or something. I mean, it's
Kansas,
insane.
the Dakotas. I mean, fucking go check them out
Tell you what, man,
sometime and see what
I
it looks
now
like.
I've never been to the Dakotas, at least not as an adult, but it just seems to me like that would be a harsh place to live. Cold and flat, just bitterly cold and flat for the most part, right? And that seems like it would be fucking brutal. And
I'd
not a
like
lot
to
of maybe not a lot of resources. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I mean, I guess it's just what depends on what sort of resources you need or you're looking for.
hey, plenty of people live there for a very long time before white people took it away.
That's true. It's a good point.
That's where Crazy Horse is.
Yeah. No, that's true. Um, I've never understood why people live in the desert. That's fucking just bizarre to me.
Well,
You know,
you
it's
want
like
to live on the beach, it's basically the same. There's just not a lot of water.
yeah, but I guess that's the
Dry,
difference.
arid.
But it's not dry at the beach, man. It's humid, which isn't great either,
That's what I
uh
was saying. The
but
fucking desert might not be that bad.
I don't know, man. The desert be
You ever been
rough.
to like Tucson? No
I've been
Arizona
to
for you?
Vegas,
Yeah, it's
which
probably
is
pretty dry there
basically
too.
the fucking desert. Yeah. But no, I've never been to Arizona. I wouldn't mind going sometime just check it out, but it just seems so weird to me. I don't know. I like foliage too much. I like color. I feel like you don't get a lot of color in the desert.
What kind of color you get at the fucking beach?
Oh man, there's all kinds of colors. Tropical colors.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
Yes. You're going to the
You're
wrong
going to
beaches.
Osage fucking beach. There ain't nothing.
Osage Beach is in the Ozarks.
Whatever. You know what I
Dumb
meant.
motherfucker.
Ain't no color down there.
uh, I don't know, man. I think
Couple
I'd take the
shitty ass
beach.
palm trees.
Hey, my uncle Billy rocked the homeless lifestyle for a while, man, and he spent most of it in Florida, and he loved it. He was
Thriving.
thriving
I'm an old
in
dead eye.
Florida. That's right, man, thriving. I mean, if there's a place you could sleep outside if you had to basically year round, like the beach, the coast, no,
Taxes, they fuck you to death in Florida.
there's no,
It's worse than
there's no
Illinois.
state income tax in Florida. There's also no state income tax in Texas.
Look, okay, so I get to keep the $300 I paid the state anyway, but they're gonna rape me every other fucking chance they get? Like, what's the
Maybe so.
difference?
Well, I'm sure they tax the shit out of things like in Florida, I'm sure, like, entertainment, there's probably, like, a goofy tax on entertainment with all the shit they have there, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, so on.
You know what we
Uh,
should get into sometimes, and I see it on this news channel you're talking about, this TT. I don't get a lot of news on there, but I get a little bit. That they say down in those, retirement homes
oh,
or
it's fucking free
fuck
for
shack.
all.
Oh my god.
Yes.
They have, like, different signals. They put loofahs on their cars and all
Dude,
sorts of
haven't you
weird shit
I
to
mean, it's
just
not
let you
even
know.
just unique to these, like, Florida retirement communities, like, there are I think, like, statistically, there are more sexually transmitted diseases in retirement homes than there are on college campuses.
That's
Like
awesome.
like
That's the best that might be the best stat ever given on the Pub Time podcast
like,
ever.
I don't think it's bullshit. I really don't. I mean,
'Cause I'll tell you right now, if you ain't fucking, you're dying. You know what I mean? Those people are not dying, and I love that for
well, and they
them.
figure they're probably not knocking anybody up, so they don't even bother wrapping it up, they're just going for it, right? I tell you what, my 80-year-old ass ain't throwing no raincoat on.
Why
Fuck
would
you.
you?
No.
Going out with my boots on. This could be the last one.
Exactly.
Elizabeth.
Exactly.
Are you
But
sure about that? Where'd you read that?
I've heard it several times, like, I
Speaking in Peoria, I think the STD rates here are probably pretty high too, but
yeah.
just
Oh, well, again, a little
throw my hat in the ring.
another joke I heard on the TT is, there was a comedian or something, and he said the husband answers the phone, the doctor was calling and said, "Hey, we got a problem with your wife's chart. There seems to be a mix-up. We don't know if she has dementia or syphilis." And he's like, "Well, how the hell am I supposed to find out?" He said, "Well, drop her off a few miles from home, and if she shows up, don't fuck her." Like, well, I guess that's one way to find out.
TikTok's so good for everything.
Oh, it's great, man. And I know the Chinese run it and everything. They probably have all my information, but fuck them. I don't got anything they want anyways.
Speaking of Chinese, you see those shootings that happened in California? I know they try to blow it up all over the news,
I
but
thought I saw something, man, but you know what's sad
it's
is
like
it seems like it's so common that, like, I don't even pay attention.
it is. I mean, unfortunately, most of the time they're not.
No, I mean, it sucks. It's so, like, prevalent. "Oh, another shooting. Oh, another shooting." I mean,
It's so easy to do to innocent people, but then they let these fuckers sit in prison. It's like shoot them right there in the middle of the street. Let everybody know what happens when you do this
right.
kind of shit. They never do that. It's very unfortunate.
True.
You need to set the example at some point in time. Like make an example of somebody. They don't. They never do. And they're like, hey, it's never gonna end. Well, it's never gonna end because you don't fucking show these other assholes what
Well,
happens. You parade
I
them
guess
around.
too, like, statistically, dude, there's this wild
You mean
fucking
these fucking statistics? Is it all from TikTok?
no, no, there's this wild
I
fucking,
need to know.
Joe Rogan TikTok you listen to. He's got these 2 dudes on, it's fairly recent, and they're talking about, like mostly what they're talking about is the pyramids and shit like
Yes,
that,
yes, huge
and,
bone. I
like,
already seen it. Yeah.
oh my god, it's crazy, right? But they basically are, like, saying that there was technology that existed a really, 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 really long fucking time ago, like,
Basically
advanced
gone.
civilizations,
Yeah.
all this stuff, and kinda their theory is that civilization crashed somehow, whatever, basically had a hard reset, and the people that sort of survived it became so, like, violent almost just because that was what was necessary to survive, and so, like, just there was this surge of violence through the Egyptian times and the Roman times, and it's just extraordinarily violent, but just that over time, things have gotten like less and less violent. People have gotten more and more civilized, um, and that there's less crime and violence now than there was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, so on and so forth. It's just that
Yeah.
the only difference now is that we hear about everything because we have basically world news at our fingertips 24/7, where that hasn't always been the case. But as far as the overall violence, it is, I think, significantly less than it has been any time in modern, quote, modern history.
Yeah,
But
back in
I
the
was
day, somebody
super
did you wrong, you'd fucking go beat their head in with a rock or shoot
sure,
them in the middle
yeah.
of Main Street and
Or yeah,
fucking
you
go
you
back
just didn't
home.
like you didn't like the way people thought or believed, and you just go kill them. I mean, it was just it was brutal, ruthless, and the way you killed them typically wasn't uh it
Kosher.
wasn't very
Yeah.
friendly. Yeah. Um, I saw something that popped up the other day about like the 12 disciples of Jesus and what how all of them were executed and or how they all died, and it was like crucified, crucified upside down, uh speared to
Who's
death, like all this stuff. I'm like, good
who was the one
lord,
that was
like
upside down? It was John something.
no, I think it was St. Peter.
St. Peter, there you go.
Yeah, but it's just crazy, man. Like, and I mean, I've watched a few documentaries on the Roman Empire and just how like much of a like dog eat dog world that was. It's like you didn't want if you were related or if you were family of the emperor and the emperor died, like you were fucked, like because people were going to kill you, so you couldn't take power. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, it was like you were a
it's
target
over.
instantly.
Time to move.
But
Soon as that motherfucker got sick, got the flu or something, it's time to get out.
yeah,
Peace out.
so no, man, look at us, like just a little fucking history lesson here today. We travel back in time to the Whiskey City in the late 1800s, talk a little Wyatt Earp, uh, getting here in the Egyptians and the Romans. Love it, man. I love it. There's a
I
lot of stuff that could be talked about the fucking, ancient history and things like that. I don't know how we'd ever be able to condense it into like an episode without just
no
bouncing all
way.
over the place, but
We'd
it'd
have
be
to
worth
pick one specific thing because I was listening. You were talking about Rogan. I listened to some Graham Hancock the other day. I love that old man.
yeah, he's this these they referenced him in this podcast 20 times. Graham
Yeah.
Hancock and
He says,
Russell
as a
something.
civilization, one of our biggest things we suffer from is amnesia,
Oh,
because
sure.
we had all the answers to a lot of this shit. We've just lost it through the years.
Yeah, well, and these guys talk a lot about the one I listen to, how because Rogan's like, does anyone take this to like these modern are these people who've written these books and claim these theories? They're like, yeah, they basically like disregard it because if they acknowledge it and accept it, it means they're wrong. So like they try to push everything away that can make them be wrong or make them look bad in any way, shape, or form. It's so fucking ridiculous.
So, kind of like I said, when we were talking about, trusting the science and whatever else, it's still dick measuring a contest with most of these people because, like
Oh,
you
they
just
all got
said, if my thought is wrong, then what is right?
I tell you what, yeah,
It's all theory.
you want to say that sports people, athletes have egos, go into academia, man. Like and these really highly intelligent people that write books and have these theories and all this stuff. Those are some arrogant fucking people. Um, without a doubt that will do everything they can to protect their reputations, whether it means, whether it's right or wrong. So, I mean, at least in the sports world, your ability is right out there on fucking TV for everybody to see. Like if you suck, people are gonna know you suck or whatever. Like, so if you're gonna have to actually have to go out there and back up the shit that you say most of the time, to where, unfortunately, like there's, the large part of the population is not very intelligent, myself included, and we just kind of take the things that these people that we're told are smart. We take the things that these people say as truth without really any questioning. Um, but in most cases, a lot of us don't have the means or motivation to question it. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So, all right. Well, we've rambled enough. Do you know who we're fucking?
I know who we're fucking, and I know where we're going next week. I got a good guy. You passed him up on the list, and I love it. I'm going to tell everybody what it is right now. Episode next week, 2 weeks from now, whatever it may be. Kill your local pedophile. I've got just the guy.
Kill your
You might have
local
seen. You might
pedophile.
have seen him on your news reel. You've
Who's
seen
that?
this guy before. The Alaskan Avenger.
Oh, I'm not sure, man.
You've seen him. If I send you a picture, you'd be like, "Yeah, I've seen that guy. I don't know the story." So
Maybe so.
next week we're gonna get into it.
I'm in.
You ready to do it?
Let's do it, man. Let's get out of here.
All right. Here's to those that wish us well. All the rest can go to hell. Fuck you, Curly Bill. You remember Curly Bill, don't you?
Yep, fuck him.
Fuck him.
Is he here?
Then fuck him.
Everybody in the club getting tipsy. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. I won't deny it, I'm a straight rider. You don't wanna fuck with me. I got the police busting at me, but they can't do nothing to a G.
Wow, 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 it's very nice.